Okay, so the uppercut, it's not as complex as the hook. The hook's the hardest punch I think you'll probably learn throughout this entire program. The uppercut, obviously, the name gives us a little bit of an indication of where it's going. So it's going to go up. Okay, there are a couple of things that everyone does. Yeah, everyone pretends that Popeye drops a hand to the back pocket, throws these big uppercuts. Okay, the way that we're going to throw an effective uppercut without putting ourselves in a position where he could potentially counter me is we're going to do the same thing as we do with a cross and a hook. So we're going to load. So I've loaded my hip up. Okay, this hand stays nice and high. From here, I'm going to start pushing my hip through, and then instead of the hand going straight, it's just going to go up. Okay. What we typically find is people want to do this with the hip. Yeah, so lifting the hip up instead of it just through. So the uppercut, it's going to do the exact same thing as the cross, but just at the end, yeah, we just bring that hand up. Okay, so everyone just get into stance, just practice a couple. So we're just going to go jab, uppercut. That's it. Nice. And just relax your arms a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2. Okay, in fact, let's do this. Let's go hook, uppercut, because that's the more natural combination. Which doesn't mean I want everyone limping out of here, but it's just going to give us a little bit of a better appreciation of kind of where the kick's going to land and where you are when you're actually kicking. So we're now going into a different range. So we've been working in punching range an awful lot, but now we're going to start looking at a kicking range, which is slightly further out. Okay. The first one that we're going to practice is the inside low leg kick. Okay. So my connection point that I'm hitting with is usually this part of my leg. So it's like the instep and a little bit of my foot. Okay. You don't really want to catch your toes at any point. And this is where for some people it might be a bit different from if you've done karate or more traditional kickboxing, where you tend to land with this part of the foot here. We're going to look to land with the lower part of our shin. When we kick, we're always looking for the lower part of the shin or the middle part, top part of the shin, never the middle. Yeah, the middle is the weakest point of your shin. Okay, it does take a lot to break it. If you do kind of like throw a kick and the block it or something happens, but it's just best to get into the habit of either kicking the top part or the bottom part. For me, the majority of my kicks are with the bottom part of the leg. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to feint, pretend to throw a jab, and then I'm going to step in and just touch the inside of the thigh. Okay, touch. This becomes a really repetitive class if we're just there. Oh! And then you realise at about 10:30 that were a bad idea. Okay, so just feint, so pretend to throw a punch. You can do a little step in and just touch the inside of the leg. The angle of the kick is like this. So we're going to learn 2 kicks today. One that's going up in this angle, one that's going to go down in this angle or across. Okay, so feint, touch and return, and J goes. Feints, touch and return. Okay, so if the leg goes out, that's fine, but I don't want to hear like a slow clap or claps. Make sense? Yeah. Just give it a go. 1, 2, 3. No real rotation on our hips. You know, we're at a position where the threat of kind of being punched is significantly less, and it acts kind of like our jab. So this kind of kick we can use a couple of different ways. We can use it as a jab, or we can use it to off-balance our opponent. So if we kind of look at it from a jab point of view, so I'm staying on the outside, I really don't want to get in and involved on Jay's hands. Now, remember my sad story that I told you about having short, stubby little arms from birth? Yeah, so Jay extends his hand out. Yeah, that's my life. That's every damn night of my life with Jay. Okay, so this is where I can start using kicks, where at that range where he's got his jab out, I can make a connection with someone who's taller. So I sometimes use this more from like a jab point of view or a distance finder when I'm fighting against someone who's a bit taller. Okay. Another way of doing this is to off balance them. Okay. So the kick has a little bit more power, but again, it's not about the slap, it's a push. Alright, so Jay's in his good fight stance here. What I want to do is I want to put him into a really bad position where it's hard for him to move and I can throw across. Okay, so this time I'm going to tell you to do the exact opposite to what I told you to do with your footwork over the last couple of weeks. Congratulations, welcome to MMA. Okay, I'm going to step in, and just kick out. Come back, and then just don't throw it on the face, but just throw right across. Okay? By kicking the leg out, Jay lands in a position where he has to do something with his feet before he can move. So I've also lined up Jay's chin with my right shoulder. This is how I learned how to throw right hands. Okay? So I've got a sniper laser going out from my shoulder, and anytime something's in line with that sniper ray, I punch. Okay? So even boxing, boop, boom. Yeah, I've got this imaginary sniper beam going out. Okay? So I want to put Jay's head. So at the moment the beam's over to his shoulder because we're in this neutral position. I'm going to touch and just touch that right hand, just nice and steady. Okay? Again, you didn't hear any slapping. Jay's not crying. It's nice and steady. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3. The base is obviously an uppercut as well. So this is another thing really to think about where, you know, we're in this position here, we throw that big kick, boom, but that uppercut to kind of keep them on the inside. We're not going to do that now, but this is where you start thinking about other opportunities that you've got. So we've learned a couple of different strikes today, haven't we? So is there any way that we can integrate those together? And you going away and you having to think about this throughout the day, this helps you learn and grow and kind of do that kind of thing. So make sure you do spend a little bit of time thinking, are there any other possibilities? Because I'll teach you my syllabus, how I coach kickboxing, but you may have a different way of doing something, or you may think of something that I've not thought of. You know, it's really important you kind of, you know, spend a little bit of time doing the mental stuff as well as the physical. So we're now going to learn how to leg kick on the outside. So that's an inside leg kick. Okay, the outside leg kick is slightly different. All right. So the outside leg kick is our baseball bat. So if we think of all the tools that we're learning, you know, our elbows, our knives, our hands, our screwdrivers. The leg kick is definitely the baseball bat of the toolbox. Okay, not that you've got a baseball bat in your toolbox, but it'd be cool if you did. All right. I don't really want to stay stood in front of Jay, so we're going to do a bit of footwork with this as well. Because if I throw a kick to Jay's leg, he's always going to be in a position where he can punch me. Because if we go back to that, you know, in front of the car headlight sort of analogy we used later. So I'm going to step across. So similar footwork we used to do the roll, step across. So now I'm away from his power hand. Okay. The way that we do the kick, there's two ways of doing like a rotation on the front. So we've got one, just come this angle, Jay, which we call a cheat step. Okay, so I'm going to turn my lead foot, okay, bring my knee up and then just touch the thigh. Okay. The other way of doing this, and this depends on a little bit of your ankle mobility and your ability to have balance as well, is where we just turn on our foot. Okay. Most people today will probably get more out of the cheat step. So cheat step, touch, and back. Okay. The kick itself, like I said, the angles that we're looking for is either cross or diagonally down. Let's just focus on the cross for now. And the target area is this thigh. Okay, not the knee, not the hip, all right? Because the thigh eventually, you know, you can make people walk funny in fights if you get lots of these kicks. The area that I'm landing with is the exact same place as well. So, outside of the lights, yeah, cheat step, and then just touch the hip, okay? Don't worry about the roll of the hip, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's just get this first part of the footwork. So, 1, 2, okay, and just touch. This is the one that's going to make you all walk like a penguin if you just blast each other's leg all day. Okay, give us some different opportunities. I usually teach it because it's a good adaptation for anyone who struggles to do that pivot, okay? But I actually use a cheat step when I'm sparring and fighting as well. So if I change my angle, yeah, and I just rely on this twist all the time, I stay in the same position. Yeah, the power of the kick's always going to be the same. Sometimes I want to really, like say like a baseball bat, just go through and try and even kick out the back leg. Okay, so the cheat step gives us this option. So it is an effective technique, not just an adaptation for something we can't do. So as a step, I'll come back in, I'll cheat step and then blast the leg. Okay, so I do use it, even though it just sounds like we're cheating, we're not. It's just the name of the step. Okay, So the next thing we need to get used to is rolling our hip. Alright? So this time, son of a bitch, Sven, we're not going to step out. But you said step out, never taking. Well, you know, there you go. Okay, we're going to do the rotation now. Alright, so we're going to have to focus on rotating on our foot. Alright, I bring my knee up, rotate, and then push my hip. Okay, so I'm connecting to the thigh, and then there's just like a little bit of a push. And this is teaching us to roll our hips. Okay, so here, and roll our hips. Try not to lean back, like I just did. Up straight, and roll that hip. And what we get is like a little bit of a bounce back. So when we throw a big kick, we bounce back into our stance, and we're able to start going into the next set of stuff. Does that make sense? Nice and steady. 1, 2, 3. As a coach, is we get like a shield. Alright, so we're going to look at a front kick. Okay, so a front kick is the opposite to everything we've just learned, where we're rotating, we're twisting, and we're doing everything there. A front kick just pushes a person away or acts like another type of jab. Okay, so you've got a front kick which is like a thrust kick. So I'm bringing my knee up, it goes in, comes back, and drops. Okay, so it's like a jab. Alright, and then we've got a front kick which is a push kick. Okay, we're going to focus on the push kick to create distance. So here, knee goes up like you're stepping over something, and then push them out and bring it back down. What I don't want to see is this. And you dropping your leg or scraping your foot. It makes impact, comes back and drops back down. So here, nice and steady. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so everyone just get into stance with me. So this one is a balancing, so knee comes up, foot goes out, comes back and drops. Okay, and again, ready? Really sort of focus on pushing a person around. This is where I want us to go a little bit slower and a little bit steadier with the front kick, because if we miss, there's a good chance I'm going to nuke the Jason. Okay, especially if I don't lift my knee up high enough, which everyone does it. At least one person gets hit in the nuts at some point with a front kick. Okay, so he's going to walk in, so now I'm going to just push him away. Okay, so you see how there were no step? And this is the benefit of your lead front kick. Your lead front kick is an annoying kick. So every time he comes in, little front kick. Okay, just to regulate that distance. And then this is where we can combine it with a leg kick. So here, step across into your leg kick. Okay, so we're keeping our kicking range with the front kick. So nice and steady, walk in, don't have your eyes closed. Yes, make sure you're always paying attention to what's going on, and a lead front kick. On 3, 1, 2, 3.